Hi guys, my name is Elise. Welcome back to another week with the Foundry Kids and welcome to the first week of our February series called Road Rules. This month we are talking about respecting others and learning about what respect is, and I'm super excited to share some great lessons with you guys. But before we start anything, we're going to stand up and sing a new song.
Everybody is a treasure, yeah, everybody ever. Let me tell you, it's true. Everybody has value. We all come from different places, different stories, different races. But let me tell you, it's true. Everybody has value. Give a little bit, even if you're not feeling it. Just show a little on it. Yeah, one to another. So I'm gonna place my bets on living my life with respect. Cause I don't wanna regret making everything about myself. Yeah, I know that if I put somebody down, it's gonna come right back around. So I'm gonna do my best to live my life with respect. Yeah. If it's your father or your mother, if it's a sister or a brother, let them know about what you're saying, dude, that they have so much value. If it's a friend or a stranger, if it's your family or your neighbor, let them know about what you're saying, dude, that everybody has value. So I'm gonna place my bets on living my life with respect. Cause I don't wanna regret making everything about myself. Yeah, I know that if I put somebody down, it's gonna come right back around. So I'm gonna do my best to live my life with respect. Just a little bit, even if you're not feeling it. Give a little bit, even if you're not feeling it. Just show a little on it. Yeah, one to another. So I'm gonna place my bets on living my life with respect. Cause I don't wanna regret making everything about myself. Yeah, I know that if I put somebody down, it's gonna come right back around. So I'm gonna do my best to live my life with respect. So I'm gonna place my bets on living my life with respect. Cause I don't wanna regret making everything about myself. Yeah, I know that if I put somebody down, it's gonna come right back around. So I'm gonna do my best to live my life with respect. Yeah, I do my best to live my life with respect. Give a little bit, just give a little bit. I do my best to live my life with respect.
Our lesson today comes from the book of Luke, chapter 5, and today we are going to be learning about a time when Jesus treated his disciples with respect. So let's learn more about that.
It's time for...
The story before the story.
Today, we're in the third book of the New Testament, Luke. But before Luke, in the very beginning, out of a deep, deep love, God made an amazing world. But when people turned away from God, the world was broken.
God made a plan to draw people back into a relationship. So at the right time, God sent a tiny baby to be born in the small town of Bethlehem, God's very own son, Jesus.
When Jesus grew up, he was baptized in the Jordan River. God spoke from heaven. This is my son, and I love him. I am very pleased with him. Which is where our story starts.
Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian. After 40 days in the wilderness, Jesus began to go from town to town, teaching and healing. Even though he's God's son, he didn't start out in the capital city of Jerusalem. He didn't go to the fine homes of the religious leaders. Instead, Jesus met with ordinary, everyday people on hillsides and by the lake shore. And he chose some of the most unlikely people to be his closest friends and followers. 4 of these men were uneducated fishermen: Peter, Andrew, James, and John. One morning after a long night of fishing, Peter and his friends had caught exactly 0 fish.
What a drag. Cleaning the nets without a single fish to show for it.
I may fall asleep right here.
This morning, the fishermen weren't alone on the beach. Jesus was standing on the lakeshore, and though it was early, a huge crowd had gathered. They were so eager to get close to Jesus that they jostled and shoved, backing him right up to the water. But instead of pushing back, Jesus simply stepped over into Peter's boat and said,
Go out a little way from shore.
Now, if you're Peter, you're probably feeling a whole bunch of things. On the one hand, after fishing all night, you really want to get home and go to bed. But on the other hand, this unusual teacher has singled you out of the crowd to help him. I mean, you're used to people just ignoring you or wrinkling their noses at the fishy smell you can't get out of your clothes. With all those things racing through his head, Peter did just what Jesus asked and guided the boat a little way out from shore. When Jesus was done speaking, he turned to Peter and said,
Go out into deep water. Let down the nets so you can catch some fish.
Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything.
Now, even though Peter couldn't help protesting a little, he already respected Jesus' authority.
But because you say so, I will let down the nets.
Peter guided the boat out into deep water, and he and Andrew let down their nets, expecting more disappointment. Instead, whole schools of fish seemed to appear out of nowhere.
Oh, Andrew, pull harder!
The net is going to burst!
Peter called out to his fishing partners back on shore.
James, John, bring the boat!
It took everyone to reel in the nets. Both boats overflowed with floundering fish. Back on shore, Peter was so overwhelmed, he didn't give a single thought to that massive haul of fish. Instead, he threw himself down at Jesus' feet.
Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man.
Jesus smiled at the group of ragtag fishermen.
Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people.
The crowd must have been shocked to see Jesus choose these common fishermen as close friends and disciples. Right away, Peter, Andrew, James, and John hauled their boats up on shore. They didn't even stop to clean and sell all those fish. Jesus wasn't finished calling disciples. One day he stopped at a booth where a man named Matthew was collecting taxes. Okay, now, first thing you got to understand, no one talked to a tax collector unless they had to. These men were hired to collect taxes from their own people for the Roman government. They would charge extra to cover their own salaries. I mean, everybody hated them for it. But Jesus walked right up to Matthew.
Come, follow me.
Everyone was shocked, including Matthew. But Matthew didn't hesitate. Something inside him just recognized that Jesus was special. He got up immediately to follow Jesus and even invited Jesus to come to a dinner party at his house. At Matthew's home, Jesus shared a meal with tax collectors and others who were seen as outcasts.
The religious leaders were shocked.
They grumbled to Jesus' disciples.
Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?
Jesus heard what they were saying.
Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I have not come to get those who think they are right with God to follow me. I have come to get sinners to turn away from their sins.
Jesus wasn't worried about collecting the right followers or popular friends. Instead, he included everyone. Jesus chose to spend his time with people who saw how much they needed him, instead of those like the religious leaders who thought they were too important to need help. The end.
I wonder who Jesus would talk to if he came to my school.
That is a great question.
It's like Jesus' teaching went beyond anything anyone has ever heard before.
So, what's our part in the story?
Every single person ever is made in God's image. That means everybody you meet is important and worthy of love. Just like Jesus, we can choose to include the people who get overlooked and left out.
Maybe people who aren't popular.
Or people who are new or different.
Even people who have messed up.
Yeah, like there's this girl in my school who eats by herself at a table in the corner every day. I could invite her to have lunch with me.
Yeah, and there's this kid in my grade who always gets picked last for stuff. I could have him be my lab partner in science class.
I think you guys have got it. See you next time.
Respect is when we show someone that they matter or that they're important to us, and we show them that by the things that we say or do. And Jesus showed his disciples respect by calling them to come follow him, even though they weren't really the types of people that you would have thought would be disciples. They didn't have a lot of education, so they were just fishermen. And then they called Matthew, who a lot of people didn't like him because he was a tax collector, and so people thought that maybe he was like cheating them. But Jesus still showed respect to his disciples by saying, no, I know that you guys can follow me and make a great difference in the world. And they did. They listened to Jesus and they made a huge difference in the world. So that also respect brings us into our new memory verse for the month. Again, brand new month, brand new memory verse. So our memory verse for the month also comes from the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 31. And it says, do to others as you would have them do to you, which I think is a great example of showing respect. So I'm going to read it one more time. Luke chapter 6, verse 31. Do to others as you would have them do to you. So how can you guys practice showing respect this week, helping people who might feel left out this week? What do you think you guys can do? Okay, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.